Hello, welcome to electronic accounting class. This is the ninth module. We are gradually coming to an end, and we'll be discussing about data security, backup, and regulatory compliance. Data security, backup, and regulatory compliance. And safeguarding financial data is as critical as preparing an accurate financial statement in today's digital environment. And that is why it is very important that we look into this part of electronic accounting. As an overview, this module explores key concepts in electronic accounting, focusing on data security, the backup strategies, and the regulatory compliance. It looks into cybersecurity risk, which is an understanding of threats like data breaches, the malware, and unauthorized access. Also, it looks at the aspect of data backup and recovery. It talks about the methods to ensure critical financial information is protected and recoverable. It looks into the legal and ethical obligations as per the compliance with data protection laws, the IFRS, and tax regulation. And it looks into the internal control, so the implementing safeguarding principles in digital accounting system. For the cybersecurity risk in electronic accounting system offers efficiency, but introduces various cybersecurity risks that can compromise confidentiality, integrity, and availability of financial information. And this risk that we are talking about includes unauthorized access, which is individuals without proper clearance gaining entry to the system, and these alters or result in misappropriation of data. Another is the data breaches and theft, and this is an unauthorized acquisition or exposure to sensitive financial information of an organization, which often via vulnerability or phishing. Another risk is the malware or ransomware, which is a corrupting data, disrupting operations, or encrypting file for ransom, halting accounting processes. And lastly is the insider threat. And for this, it means the employees intentionally or accidentally compromising data security through negligence or malicious intent. We also have the phishing and social engineering. For these, phishing tricks users into revealing sensitive information requiring strong staff awareness. So this is also a risk that is very peculiar to cybersecurity in electronic accounting. We also have the system vulnerability and outdated software, which shows that outdated software exposes accounting system to hacking and data breaches. And lastly is the data loss and corruption. And cyber threats or error can corrupt or delete critical financial data. And these are the risks that are involved in cybersecurity as it pertains to electronic accounting. How do we mitigate this risk as it pertains to cybersecurity? Implementing robust measures is crucial to managing cybersecurity risk in electronic accounting. And a way to mitigate this that are listed. The first is strong password policy and multi-factor authentication. It is very important that a strong policy should be put in place as per the password that is to be used in the organization to mitigate the risk of cybersecurity. And also, there is need for regular software updates and system patches. Also, employees training on phishing and social engineering threats should be encouraged so that there will be a knowledge about how to effectively handle this aspect of electronic accounting. Another is the role-based access control to restrict unauthorized access. So access is given to softwares and whatsoever to based on role, and as such it limits or restricts unauthorized people or access or staff from gaining access to some of the financial data that are available. Another is secure network infrastructure and firewalls. There is need to secure the network infrastructure and firewalls in order to mitigate the cybersecurity risk that we've talked about. And lastly, there is need for continuous monitoring and audit trail to detect unusual activities. For backup, data backup that we've said in the previous slide, what are the methods that are being used for data backups? A robust data backup strategy is essential for internal control, for regulatory compliance and business continuity. And the types or the various backup methods that are available are the cloud storage, and this is accessible from anywhere, and it ensures automatic backup, data redundancy, and encryption. And we also have the external drives, which is an offline storage device. It's known for its portability and full control over the backup medium. And also we have the redundancy, which is multiple copies across different media and location for maximum security. How do you know which of these backup strategies you need to choose? So choosing the right backup strategy. An effective backup strategy often combines method for maximum security and reliability. And the strategies include frequency of backup. And this talks about daily or real-time backup for high volume system. It's actually a very important strategy in choosing backup to use, the right backup to use. Another is the recovery time objective, which talks about how quickly system must be restored after a failure. Also, we talk about the recovery point objective, which deals with the maximum acceptable data loss in case of failure, and also the regulatory compliance, which talks about the backup method must comply with data protection law and industry standard. As it pertains to the legal and ethical consideration, handling financial data responsibly and securely requires adherence to legal and ethical framework. And the first we will be looking at is the data protection law. The data protection law, and this regulates the collection, the storage, processing, and sharing of financial information. This is a law that guides the collection, the storage, processing, and sharing of financial information. And we have examples as GDPR, the NDPR, in charge of such. Also, we have the tax regulation, and this talks about the accurate calculation, timely filing, and the record retention for tax purposes. And these are FIRS rules, Federal Inland Revenue Services rules, and also IFRS compliance. And this ensures accurate representation, disclosure, consistency, and ethical reporting in financial statements. And The last is the ethical responsibilities, which talks about upholding integrity, confidentiality, professional competence, and accountability. As per the internal control section, which is the last on the discussion, internal control prevents error, fraud, and data breaches and ensure compliance and reliable financial reporting. And these controls include one, access control. For this, we talk about regulation of who can enter, view, or modify data. And this is a role-based permission given to someone. And another is the segregation of duty. Segregation of duty, which is another internal control that can be put in place, and this separate responsibility to prevent single person controlling, having control over transactions. There is also automated control, which is a system validation rule, approval workflow, and automated calculation, which is being put in place. There is also the audit trail and login. For this, as an internal control, it's the chronological record of all transactions and users' activity for traceability. We also have the backup and recovery, which is another internal control, which talks about the automated backup, testing, recovery procedure, and disaster recovery planning. And lastly is monitoring and review, which is another internal control that can be put in place. And this talks about the ongoing oversight through reports, reconciliation, and internal audit. In conclusion, data security, reliable backup, and regulatory compliance are indispensable for modern accounting. And we've been able to look at proactive safeguards, which talks about the strong authentication, continuous monitoring, and employee training, which are vital against cyber risk. We've also looked into ensuring business continuity, talking about the robust backup strategies such as a cloud, external drive, redundancy, which ensure recovery from disruption. We've also seen adherence to data protection laws, IFRS, the tax regulations, and ethical conduct. And we've looked into the internal control, which talks about access restriction, the SOD, audit trails, and more in order to maintain trust and accurate reporting. And these are the things we've looked into. Thank you.